The fully ripened noni fruit is harvested every day by the local staff in Indonesia, then washed a minimum of 3 times before it is quick freezed at -40 degrees Celsius. The fruit is shipped to Korea in reefer containers, which are maintained at the same temperature of -40 degrees Celsius. After it arrives, the fruit has to ferment for 60 days in these special tanks, and this results in a cost blowout. Another key factor to consider is that if we use a lactic acid bacteria that is low in concentration, it can't be fermented over a long period of time. Just like how kimchi left out in room temperature for a while turns sour and gets bubbly. There could be some harmful or putrefying bacteria in the noni, not just the functional lactic acid bacteria. So, to retrain the competitive response of the negative bacteria, we raised the concentration of the lactic acid bacteria by a great amount. It is difficult to find a lactic acid bacteria product, with 800 billion CFU in the market. Because we raised our standards to 800 billion CFU, the costs are tremendous. It's not made with a single bacterial species, but a combination of 7. Because we have conducted control experiments with all of the 52 lactic acid bacteria entrusted at the Korea Food Research Institute, a government-funded research institute, the research costs were not small. Everything we have done had high cost burdens, but we couldn't just produce and sell expensive products to our consumers. So we discussed a great deal on the ways we could lower the production costs. We developed something called the IBC tank, put the noni in it, added lactic acid bacteria, and kept the noni in it through all the fermentation and extraction, which allowed everything to be done in one process. Once the juice is extracted, it is sent through pipelines to a UHT sterilizer to be sterilized, then put into glass jars in a sterilized state at high temperature. Even though the glass jars are cleaned, another sterilizing step is added at 85 degrees for extra security. Then the cap is added with pressure vacuum, and no other human contact comes with the product. The reason we did this was to simplify the manufacturing process and reduce costs during the materials supply, distribution, and storage process. And we did our best to develop the most efficient way possible. That is how this product could be safely manufactured. We spent countless hours deliberating and had the help of many experts to provide at the current price steadily. Hello, I am Atomy's Dr. Noni, Na Im Joung. After listening to my lecture, you can go anywhere and pretend you're a noni expert. I've been studying noni for 25 years, so I'm confident that I know more about noni than any other person. Is there anyone who doesn't know what noni is? There are 3 key words we need to explain the fruit noni. First, noni is ugly. Second, noni has a foul smell. Third, it has an even worse taste. The first time I tried noni, I could barely swallow spoonfuls, even with my nose held. Honestly, it can't be eaten on its own. However, many people around the world have been eating noni for over 2,000 years. Now, unless you're really hungry, people don't eat unappetizing foods. But why do we take medicine? It doesn't taste good, and it's bitter. But we still take them, nevertheless. Why is that? It's because it makes us better when we're ill. That goes for noni as well. It smells bad and it has a bad taste. But the reason people have been eating it for 2,000 years is because it's good for the human body. Noni is grown near the equator, where it's warm. And wherever it's grown, the people living there eat it. But do you think people knew noni was good for the body from the first place? No, they didn't. Before the development of science, people didn't know what plants were edible. They didn't know how to differentiate between the poisonous ones and the edible ones. They learned by watching animals. That's how they learned which plants could be eaten when they were sick as well. Carnivorous animals can't eat plants because their teeth are developed to bite off meat. They can't chew on plants, so they just have to swallow it whole. Unchewed and swallowed plants cannot be digested. Then why do carnivorous animals eat plants? For example, animals such as monkeys and tigers eat plants in addition to meat. When do they eat it? When they feel ill, because they've been infected with bacteria or viruses. They eat plants, then vomit everything out of their stomachs. They can't digest the swallowed up plants because they can't chew it. Long ago, people tried eating the plants that animals ate when they were sick. All living animals ate this fruit, Noni, when they were feeling ill. What's the name of this fruit again? That's right, Noni. But do you think all Nonis have these therapeutic effects? No. There are 131 species of Noni, and there are some that cannot be eaten by people. I'm sure you've heard of some people saying their liver functions were harmed after taking Noni. Those people would have taken the wrong kind of Noni. Out of the 131 types of Noni, there is one Noni that is the safest and most effective for the human body. I hope all of you can remember the name. It's the Morinda citrifolia. Morinda citrifolia. I studied why the Noni is so good for humans. There are tons of beneficial components for the human body in Noni. It's not just a couple. Surprisingly, there are over 200 phytochemical substances. Experts with doctorates, like myself, looked into the fruit and confirmed that there are actually over 200. I will share just a few with you today. All of the bioactive compounds in fruits and vegetables that we are familiar with are also in Noni. And there are a great deal of components that are found in small quantities in other fruits. Then, there are components that cannot be found in other fruits. Let me tell you some of the ones that you will recognize. Vitamin, mineral, amino acids are, of course, a given. Polyphenol, which is included in fruits, can be found in great quantity in Noni. Compared to amounts in familiar fruits, such as tomato, mango, and kiwi, Noni has 100 times that amount. You've probably heard that Noni is good for inflammation. One of the components good for inflammation are called scopolamine. And a significant amount of scopolamine can be found in Noni. There's something called iridoid, which regenerates the damaged area. Moreover, iridoid restores damaged DNA. And there's more iridoid in Noni than all of the other fruits combined together. There are two diseases that occur only to females. Diseases of the breast and uterus. The name is damnacanthal. There are two things that all women should be taking every single day. One is Noni, and the other is broccoli. Our female members, please remember to take Noni and broccoli. Of course, our male members are important, but our female members suffer from pains that males do not have to go through. There's one that comes monthly, and they also have childbirth. Not to mention the heartaches from taking care of their husbands. That's why I'm saying our female members should take good care of their health. Remember to take Noni and broccoli every day. There's something else in Noni that's even more important than everything I talked about so far. It's a compound called zearanin. Zearanin helps the healthy formation of cells. Human beings are made of cells. Therefore, We are only healthy if the cells that make up our body are healthy, and cells need zearanin to stay healthy. There's something that is changed to zearanin once it's taken. It's proxerinin. Noni contains more proxerinin than any other fruit in the entire world. Because noni is rich with such beneficial components and helps maintain health, noni was officially recognized by the UN for its role in human health. In Europe, noni has been declared as a safe food to consume. There are many studies being conducted in the US on noni. Noni products have been number 1 among health functional foods for 11 years. More importantly, the doctors in the US recommend taking noni. Noni has excellent effects on its own. It was studied and found that noni has immune regulatory functions. In the entire world, there is only one product made with fermented noni. What do you think it is? Only Atomy produces with fermented noni. Who is the author of that paper? Louder, please. Atomy released 7 papers on noni. I'll explain in more detail. A Dr. Heinecke studied how people can stay healthy and found that healthy cells make healthy bodies. So, he studied when cells are healthy. He discovered that cells are healthy only when there is this specific component. He named this component zearanin. Can the human body produce zearanin on its own? No, it cannot. Because it is not naturally made in our bodies, we have to eat foods that have zearanin. Unfortunately, there are not plants that contain zearanin, but there was this plant that could make zearanin once it was consumed. The component that could be turned into zearanin is called proxerinin. And Dr. Heinecke found a plant that contained the most proxerinin. That plant is the noni. When Dr. Heinecke published that noni contained the most proxerinin, noni became known all over the world. So many people started to take noni and enjoyed the results. In time, some people began to wonder, is noni really effective in treating illnesses? This is Dr. Neil Solomon. He was once the doctor of the President of the US. After hearing about people being cured with noni, he got 50 doctors, and together they got 8,000 patients. They gave noni to 8,000 patients over 3 years. As a result, they saw therapeutic effects from head to toe. A whopping 78% of their patients' symptoms were lessened. Then, did the 22% see no effects at all? Neil Solomon gave more noni to the 22% of patients. And later, 100% of them all saw therapeutic effects. Dr. Neil Solomon published a book about his findings in 1999. There's a table that shows the percentage of the therapeutic effects by disease. Let me read it out loud to you. First, 67% saw effects in cancer, 80% saw effects in heart diseases, 58% saw effects in strokes, and 83% experienced effects in their diabetes. 87% saw effects in their high blood pressure, 80% saw effects in arthritis. Pain was lessened by 87%, depression by 77%, allergies by 85%. And kidney functions were enhanced by 66%. 71% saw effects in lessening stress. Neil Solomon was shocked. It was proven that noni has curing effects. But people didn't take noni. Why? it smelled and tasted bad. If people started to take Noni just a bit earlier, they could have cured their illnesses earlier, and it was a shame that people didn't. Most people tried everything in hospitals, and they came to a point where nothing else could be done. That's when they tried Noni. Dr. Neil Solomon later gave up practicing medicine and went around to share the effects of Noni with more people. He gave up his profession as a medical doctor and studied Noni for the next 10 years. He published 10 books on his findings and went all over the world promoting the effects of Noni. He went on CNN to give a lecture, and also on UK's BBC. One of the titles of his lectures was 21 Reasons to Drink Noni Juice Every Day. He studied Noni and 21 diseases with many universities in the US and explained to treat these illnesses, patients should drink Noni juice. He also said we should not listen to people who have never researched about Noni. According to Dr. Solomon, there were 3 crucial points to remember when taking Noni. First, take it daily. Second, take a sufficient amount. Third, do not stop. While I was studying Noni, I read 756 papers on it. There are many people worldwide who are doing research on Noni. So there are many published works on it all over the world. Naturally, there are many products as well. But are all of them on par with the Atomy product? Because remember, Atomy has absolute quality. Let me tell you how our product differs. Earlier on in my lecture, I said that out of the many Noni fruits, the most effective one is called the Morinda citrifolia. The Atomy Noni product is made from 100% Morinda citrifolia. I imported all the different Noni fruits worldwide and examined them. We conducted gene tests and found a farm that grew only 100% Morinda citrifolia. We designated that farm as the Atomy farm. That's why we can say this with confidence. Our Noni fruits are 100% Morinda citrifolia. Also, we use healthy sugar. We use sugar that is healthy and rich in mineral. Because it's made with healthy sugar, the sugar level is only increased by a small amount. We earned 2 patents by using this healthy sugar. One was granted in China, and one was granted in Korea. Another ingredient in the Atomy product is a fruit called calamansi. You all know that lemons taste extremely sour, right? Lemons contain a great amount of vitamin C. But calamansi has 40 times the amount of vitamin C found in lemons. Hence comes another patent. 2 patents in the US and 1 in Korea. We only applied for 1 patent in the States. But they granted not 1, but 2 patents. Normally, no matter how much fruit we take, it's hard to actually feel the effects. The beneficial components aren't absorbed easily. So, at Atomy, to help our bodies absorb the 200 beneficial ingredients, we made this bowl that makes the intake much easier. And in this bowl, we put in all the 200 beneficial components, then the bowl helps the body absorb it all. The figurative bowl is called the cyclodextrin. It's sold in the US as health dietary supplements. Now, let me tell you an important characteristic of the Atomy Noni juice. Those of you taking collagen, please raise your hands. Why do we take collagen made of small molecules? So it can be digested and absorbed easily, right? No matter how great a plant is for the health, if the molecules are too big, it can't be absorbed in our body. The technology that's behind making big molecules smaller is fermentation. The longer the fermentation process, the smaller molecules can be broken down. The smaller something is, the better it can be digested and absorbed. But there rises a problem. When it is fermented for too long, it will go bad. Fortunately, there is a way for us to prevent it from decomposing. With a higher concentration of lactic acid bacteria, it won't go bad. We ferment our Noni juice with an extremely high concentration of lactic acid bacteria. Not just one type, but 7 different types of lactic acid bacteria. And out of the 7, 4 lactic acid bacteria have patents. There are 800 billion lactic acid bacteria per 1 gram. 800 billion per gram is the absolute minimum, too. On average, there are about 1 trillion lactic acid bacteria per gram. That's often referred to as lactic acid bacteria. The lactic acid bacteria in the Atomy Noni juice is a lactic acid bacteria. We made sure that no one else could use this lactic acid bacteria because it's just too good to be true. Only we can use it here at Atomy. We named that lactic acid bacteria Atomy as well. No other company can make it. There's one well-known characteristic of the Atomy lactic acid bacteria. Out of all the products in the world, which Noni is the tastiest? The Atomy Noni product. You all know Chairman Han-gil Park, right? He knows a great deal about Noni. He knew that it works wonders for the human body. And just like Dr. Neil Solomon, he knew that people didn't eat it because of its taste. So when we started developing the Noni product, he told us to make it the most delicious juice possible. So we did. And now, not just adults, but children can enjoy the Noni juice. This tasty Noni juice is all thanks to our chairman. By making a tasty product, we saw great results. This is a research paper. Noni can control our immunity. It can raise the immune ability of people with weak immune systems and lowers immune systems that are too strong. We call this the immune regulatory function. There is another paper on atopy and another on allergies, and others that analyze the beneficial components in Noni. We have a patent on making the juice and powder, but our chairman didn't let us produce the powder type. Don't take powder type products that grind seeds. There are harmful components in the Noni seed, so we do not include the seed in our manufacturing process at all. You are safe with our product. At Atomy, we wish for your health and happiness.
이 제품을 알아봐 주시고 사랑해 주시는 회원님들 그리고 고객분들께 진심으로 감사를 드립니다.
이 제품을 또 실제로 드셔보신 분들이 후기로 그 경험담을 말씀을 해주셨을 때 저희한테는 그게 굉장히 큰 보람입니다. 그래서 앞으로도 더 좋은 제품으로 보답할 수 있도록 노력하겠습니다.
주신 기회에 걸맞게 혼신의 힘을 다하겠습니다. 그리고 늘 섬기는 마음으로 선한 기업으로 애터미와 함께하는 기업으로 성장할 수 있도록 노력하겠습니다. 진심으로 감사드립니다.
이 노니 원액을 이렇게 싸게 파는 데가 없어요. 이렇게 맛있는 노니를 파는 데도 없어요. 저는 원샷을 하겠습니다.